There are at least 7 times the SSA will bend its own rules to make things easier for you. Knowing when those times are could mean the difference between having a big financial penalty and not, or having a big financial gain or not. We're going to talk about these next.
Holy Schmidt!
One of the most frequent comments I get on my Tuesday night Social Security live stream is that dealing with the SSA, sometimes anyway, is like trying to untangle a ball of fishing line in the dark. It feels overwhelming, like no one cares and the rules are stacked against them. That's what they say. Fortunately, that's not always the case, and there are at least 7 times the SSA will bend its own rules to make things easier for you, and these are those 7 times. The first is what's called the Social Security Misinformation Rule, and it's one that almost nobody knows about, but it is quite possibly the most important one in the list. Have you ever dealt with somebody in business who promises you something to get you to sign the dotted line, and then after you sign and you call on that promise, they say, no, paragraph 33 says this. We don't recall what we said to you at the beginning, but you signed this document. Well, the SSA actually has a provision that helps you in this situation. It's called the Misinformation Rule, and basically it works like this. If you talk to somebody at the SSA and they gave you wrong information in their official capacity about when to file, and you delayed filing and you didn't want to, then they can undo that. They can move your filing date back and pay you as if you had filed on time. Picture this. You're age 67 and you call the SSA and tell them that you want to file for Social Security, but you're still working. They tell you you can't file because you're working, so you wait another year until you stop working, only to find out that there's an exception for people 67, it's called full retirement age, where you can work and collect full Social Security. But the rep on the other end didn't know that. And let's say your benefit would have been $2,000 a month, but you waited a year, and so now you're down $24,000 because of one bad phone call. This rule exists for that specific situation. It's called a deemed filing date, and it happens enough, I suppose, where they have to have a provision for it. Social Security will treat your application as if you had been told the truth and you filed 12 months earlier. Now, the burden is on you to show the bad information is why you didn't file, so keep a record. Write down the date you called every time, the office, who you talked to, and what you were told. Written misinformation is easiest to prove. The agency can weigh a phone call along with its own records to see if you in fact did call that day, and a lot of times they will backdate your start date and give you a check for the 12 months in this example. To use it, you raise the misinformation clause with the Social Security Administration and ask them to look into the deemed filing date. From there, the agent develops its claim. Putting your account in writing is smart, so lay out exactly what you were told, and when you were told it, be specific and be calm and attach anything that you have. One other point, unlike ordinary retirement back pay, which is 6 months, this one can go back longer. It is situation specific. And to be clear, this isn't Social Security breaking a rule. It's somebody at Social Security making a mistake. And this rule was written exactly to protect you from that situation because people are human, and human beings on the other end of the phone sometimes make mistakes. The next point is the overpayment you receive that you actually may not have to pay back. Now, overpayment has been all over the news, and for years you had to pay back 100% of your overpayment before you could collect your next Social Security payment. They would actually stop your check. And then it went to 10% spread out over a very long period of time, and now it currently sits at 50%. So what does it mean when you say you don't have to pay it back? Sometimes Social Security pays you too much, and then they send you a letter asking for that overpayment back. What most people miss is that you can actually ask the SSA to waive recovery of that overpayment using Form SSA-632. Now, there are 2 provisions before you even become eligible for the conversation. One is that it's not your fault. You didn't cause this to happen, which is, for most people, a fact. They didn't cause the SSA to give them an overpayment. And the second is that repaying that overpayment would cause you hardship. And just to give you all of your options besides this, because a lot of times this doesn't work, you can ask for a reduced repayment rate, so not 50% of your Social Security check. I've heard of people that pay just a few dollars a month for basically the rest of their lives. Or if you believe that it's wrong, you can ask for reconsideration. By the way, if you ask for a waiver, it's going to be a process. The SSA will ask for your income, your assets, and quite a few other questions. But if you're approved, the balance can be wiped out completely. And timing does matter on this. You have approximately 60 days from the day you receive the letter to appeal. And if you want to stop the collection process, you have to appeal within 30 days. And one thing you can't do is ignore the letter and hope that it goes away. It's highly unlikely that it's going to just disappear. Point number 3 is called the 12-month do-over on Form SSA 521. Now, picture this fact pattern. You get laid off from work, and you're pretty confident that you're not going to be able to get another job, so you file for Social Security at age 62, let's say. 6 months later, your old boss switches companies. He calls you up and says, hey, it wasn't me, it was a corporate decision, but my new company needs you, and we're willing to pay you what we were paying you before and even more. What do? You're now collecting Social Security and you don't need it anymore. Or you win the lottery, or you get an inheritance. There are a lot of reasons why you might not want to continue on, and you have 12 months to change your mind. Now, there is a cost. You must repay benefits paid to you and anyone receiving benefits on your record, along with the amounts withheld for Medicare premiums, taxes, or garnishments. Once that's done, it's as if you never filed with the SSA. Now, this seems like a big deal, but a lot of people do it. Why do they do it? Because the benefit of doing it often outweighs the cost of repayment. If you file early, age 62, your benefit is cut by 30% for the rest of your life when you compare it to filing at full retirement age. There's also a tax point here. If you're earning more money, a portion of your Social Security payment might actually become taxable. And if you cross the earnings threshold, then you're going to have to give part of your Social Security payment back. So in many instances, it's just better to stop the process, give them the money back, and pretend you never filed. Point number 4, hitting pause on your Social Security payment to let your check continue to grow. There used to be a provision in Social Security called file and suspend. And basically, someone would file for Social Security, their partner would file for the spousal benefit, and then the person filing would suspend their benefit, allowing it to continue to grow. That provision went away, but there is something called a voluntary suspension at full retirement age. Now, full retirement age for most people is between 66 and 67. Once you reach full retirement age, you can ask the SSA to suspend your payment, and it can continue to grow at 8% per year. And you can leave your payment suspended all the way up until age 70. So if you're 67 and you pause your payment until age 70, you'll have an additional 24% on your Social Security payment. Now, to be really clear, it's 24% on the payment you were receiving, not your full retirement age benefit. For example, if your Social Security payment would have been $2,000 a month at full retirement age, but you claimed it at age 62, it's haircut by 30%. You get $1,400. Fast forward, it is your full retirement age, and you suspend it for 3 years. Your $1,400 grows at 8% per year for 3 years. That's $1,736. Now, a few cautions here. First, if you suspend your payment, then the payments related to your payment will also be suspended, like a spousal benefit, for example. The second is that you can't claim a spousal benefit on somebody else's benefit after you've claimed your own benefit. Now, speaking of spousal benefits, there is an exception, and that's the divorced spouse benefit. If you've been divorced, your divorced spouse, in many cases, can continue to receive a Social Security payment even if you've suspended yours. Also, be careful with Medicare, because if your Part B premium is being deducted from your Social Security payment and you have no Social Security payment, then you'll have to pay Medicare directly. Gang, speaking of Medicare, Medicare can be confusing. It can be overwhelming. Ask anybody who's age 65 or older, and they will tell you that this is true. They will spend hours of time analyzing the perfect plan. They'll execute, they'll get that plan, and then realize that they missed something, costing them hundreds, if not thousands of dollars a year. Now, on this channel, we have 3 affiliate relationships. One is our trusted Medicare partner, Chapter. Chapter is the only national advisor that looks at and recommends every plan. They're totally free to you. They save their clients an average of $1,100 per year. Really easy to work with, and it takes about 20 minutes of your time. So If this is of interest to you, give them a call at 440-703-1224 to see if they can help. Point number 5 is the first-year rule that helps you beat the earnings test. Let me explain. If you claim Social Security before full retirement age and you continue to work and you exceed certain earnings limits, then you're going to have to give back part of that payment. In 2026, the earning limit is $24,480 per year. For every $2 over that amount, you have to give $1 back to the SSA. But what happens if you retire in, say, August of 2026, and you've already earned $22,480, so you're $2,000 short of the annual limit? Does that mean that if you get a part-time job, you're now going to be over and you're going to have to give back anything over $2,000 of earnings, at least $1 for every $2 over that amount? Well, the answer is no. There's a special rule in the first year only of retirement, and it can save you thousands of dollars. In the first year, the Social Security Administration will look at your earnings month by month, not year by year. And so if you had a big first half, it doesn't matter. The measurement only starts when you start collecting Social Security. And then month by month, they look at your earnings. $24,480 per year is $2,040 a month. And so they measure your earnings on a monthly basis. For every $2 that you go over $2,040 in a given month, you have to give $1 back to the SSA. Now, the calendar year, you're due to reach full retirement age, but before you reach full retirement age, that limit moves up to $5,430 per month. And for every $3 over that limit, you have to give $1 back to the SSA. Point number 6, the late appeal that they can still accept. Now, with Social Security, generally to appeal something, you have 60 days. Beyond 60 days, they don't have to consider it. However, Social Security can accept a late appeal if you have good cause for appealing late. What counts as a good cause? Well, examples might be you didn't receive the notice. A serious illness kept you from acting. There was a death or serious illness in your immediate family. You couldn't get your records in time, or a notice from the agency was incorrect or too confusing to understand. Understanding the process is really important because the appeals path has 60-day stops along the way, not just the first one. Stop number 1 is asking for reconsideration. That's what we're talking about now. If that doesn't go your way, then you can ask for a hearing in front of a judge, and you have 60 days to ask for that hearing. And again, that 60 days has its own late appeal. You file the appropriate appeal and include a written explanation of why it's late. You tell them, in plain words, what happened and why it kept you from acting in time. Social Security then decides whether you established a good cause. Now, when I've mentioned this to people, sometimes they've said, Jeff, this is never going to happen to me. Believe it or not, it happens a lot. Think about being in the hospital, a spouse that passes away. You can construct a scenario where this is quite likely. The takeaway is simple. A wrong decision doesn't have to be permanent if life got in the way during those 60 days. Point number 7, if you missed the date, you can request 6 months of back pay in one check. If you waited past full retirement age to file, Social Security can pay you up to 6 months of benefits in a single lump sum going backward. There is a limit. That back pay can never reach earlier than your full retirement age, so someone whose full retirement age is 67 and files at 67 and 6 months may be able to elect all 6 months in one deposit. To put numbers on it, if your monthly benefit is $2,500 a month times 6 months, that's $15,000 in one lump sum payment. Taxes, Medicare premiums, and processing can affect the actual deposit, but it is still meaningful cash for a lot of households. But you also need to know the fine print. If you tell the SSA that you want to push your filing date back 6 months, you also lose 6 months of delayed filing credits. Your payment will be smaller. So who should take it? Someone who needs a large payment now. Maybe there's a home repair, a medical bill, or debt to clear. And who should skip this option? Generally someone in good health who wants the largest possible payment for the rest of their life. Over a long retirement, that extra payment can add up to more than the lump sum payment you would have received. Either way, it's your call. So if Social Security gave you bad information, you can ask them to move your filing date back. If you claim too early and you want to reset it, you have 12 months to reset. In the first year of retirement, the monthly earnings test can protect your check. If you miss an appeal deadline for a real reason, ask for a good cause waiver. And waiting past full retirement age to claim Social Security allows you to retroactively claim up to 6 months of back pay. If you like this video, check out that video. Your Social Security payment isn't guaranteed. Here's why. Also, if you have questions about Medicare, don't forget to give Chapter a call, 440-703-1224. This is Jeff Schmidt, and I will see you in that video right there.